All right, M.I.A. M.I.A. of Paper Planes fame, who was once signed to Jay-Z and Rock Nation. Honestly, one of their first earlier signees. Um, had a lot to say. She's had a lot to say recently. She's kind of been on a weird, a weird trajectory to say the least with her career. Obviously, she is nowhere near as popular or successful in the music aspect of things as she once was. She's done a lot of interesting choices. She's low-key become sort of a conspiracy theorist over the years, and that has obviously divided a lot of people with some of the things that she has to say or that she's done. But she clearly has, she's a very opinionated person. That is also why she was so successful in the first place, because she was able to kind of take these issues, these social, political, controversial issues, and kind of encapsulate them in almost pop, hip hop form that was easily listenable and accessible, but always had like a deeper, more meaningful, impactful purpose behind her music. And I thought that was super, super dope. And I thought that she was very, very talented and had a lot of potential. She was successful. She obviously was very successful. Paper Planes was one of the biggest songs to come out when it did. She even had some pretty dope projects. Like, she had a solid music run and career, but things have definitely seemed to have moved on past her. And with the recent kind of whole situation that has been going on with Jay-Z, obviously with the accusations and everything that has been kind of surrounding that, and Diddy, and like just kind of everything that's been happening around hip hop with these bigger name stars and executives and entertainers, and Jay-Z being kind of towards the center of that because of how big his name is in general and just the pop culture in general. She has come out. And she's had a lot of things to say. She has been very opinionated about her thoughts about Jay-Z, and they have not been the most glowing, to say the least. So she hopped up on a podcast, Patrick Bet David, valuetainment podcast, which a lot of people have been on over, the years it's been running. But she hopped on there, and obviously some of the first clips to come out of there was her talking about Jay-Z. So let's see what she has to say.
I'm a little bit confused because I'm either, sitting here thinking I've lost my mind. Rob, can you pull this story up? I just found this right now. Because this is from 4 months ago, okay? And this is, Rob, if you can just text it to you. What are you doing, Rob? Is it the same story you just typed in? Okay. So M.I.A. calls out Jay-Z Rock Nation for ousting her during custody battle, right? If you go up a little bit on Twitter, and February 8th, she served, the day I was served for my child, Rock Nation stopped all communication with me and all my emails to Jay-Z asking for help. Was wiped from my inbox. My was broken into every laptop was taken. I was trapped in Brooklyn in order to leave in Brooklyn. And then this is your tweet, by the way. Go a little lower, because if I sit here and then go a little lower, Rob. So this is my first custody battle was 2013. My child was 4. I was managed by Jay-Z, who ultimately was paid by Bronfman's. Harold James vaccinated my child without my permission. They manipulated my child into lying to a 12-year-old, pretending to be his mom. Of course, I'm a child psychologically damaged a child.
I don't want to gossip,
You know why I'm showing this? Because you said, no.
I don't want to gossip and feed into.
Oh, yeah. And another aspect of her career is that she is an anti-vaxxer. She has come out heavily, staunchly anti-vax, and that obviously has strong reactions and opinions from either side of it. I think it's kind of a weird thing to really be in 2024, but that is a role that she has decided to take up, a mantle that she has decided to take up, and like she's included it in a lot of her rants.
To the gossip, which a lot of these sites did.
No,
just
there's
blow
a difference on gossip.
But you're right. The important thing,
because I look like a fool when I'm sitting here. You're like, it's the internet saying it's not a.
No. The important thing is, yes, Jay-Z was the Def Jam CEO, which was Edgar's situation from Warner, Atlantic, Def Jam. And it's big, to me, it's, and I think this is also if you ask Jay-Z this question, maybe this is also what he would say, is that in America, if you have 40 million black people and you have this artist that's coming up to occupy the position of, you know, their ambition is financial. Like, if you wanted to be the black Bill Gates, as Beyonce says, no one can get in the way of that. And even people from smaller communities and smaller plights, you know, like to them, yeah, where is Sri Lanka? Who are the Tamils? Who cares? You know, I think to them, being part of and building this narrative of the American, you know, the wealthy black community is more important. And whoever has to be thrown under the bus for that was what was going to happen. And I think Ben Brofman is also the first black Brofman, you know, and that's a really important point to understand. So
What do you mean by that?
Because his mom is black, you know. And so I think that was a movement that was happening. And yes, I had the template that was radical and is the edge that hip hop needed, you know. But I was also inspired by hip hop and brought it back to America in a different form and shape on a very real.
I mean, it's kind of hard to listen because I don't necessarily know what she's saying. Like, she's definitely saying a lot of things without saying much. It's either one, she's being really careful with the things that she's saying because she's worried about lawsuits or any blowback that she might get, or two, she doesn't quite know what she's saying either. Like, I'm kind of leaning towards the latter, but we'll see. But so far, I'm not really understanding what she is trying to say here. She's saying to be a capitalist, to be a billionaire, to be successful, you have to step on other people and things to get there. Yes, I think that is true. Like, I absolutely agree with that, but I don't think that's ever been some mystery. I don't think it's like some big revelation that for every single billionaire out there, multi-millionaire out there, yes, they stepped on a lot of people to get to where they are. And like, capitalism is going to do capitalism. And at the core of American culture is capitalism. So if you are going to operate in a capitalistic manner, yes, you are going to only search for profit and maximizing the dollar and maximizing your dollar and making as much money as possible. And are you going to step on people along the way? Are you going to remove obstacles? Are you going to remove people that seem problematic to that end? Yes, that is basically capitalism in a nutshell. And I don't think anybody who's listened to Jay-Z throughout his entire career have thought of him as anything other than a capitalist. It's only until later on in his career did he kind of expand into a more social, black conscious aspect in a little degree. But at the core of everything that he's been has been about money, been about being a businessman, been about being successful. And like, if you kind of also model your whole company and business off after the Rockefellers, yes, you are going to do some fucked up, morally questionable things and be capitalistic and do anything to make a dollar. So like, I don't really think anybody that's listened to Jay-Z at any kind of significant level in his catalog and like grew up with them have questioned whether he's a capitalist or somebody that is out for the dollar. It's in his music. It's in everything that he said. Yes. Yes. So it's not like some big revelation there. And then for her to also say they needed her to bring back an edge to hip hop, it's kind of crazy. This is 2007 we're talking about, right? Paper Planes came out in 2007, so really she was kind of coming out 2005, 2006 when they probably found her, really kind of wanted to sign her. I don't know if they signed her before or after Paper Planes. It might have been after, but like, to say that in 2007, which is kind of a banner year for hip hop and like just where the genre is in general, to say that we needed M.I.A. to come back and bring the edge back to hip hop is a bit illusional and out of touch of where hip hop was at that point. Let's see. Here's the top 100 rap songs of 2007, the year that Paper Planes came out. Let's see. Track number 1 is International Players UGK Outcast 2. I don't really know how they're ranking this. This is definitely not off of numbers. I think this seems to be a personal list. This is absolutely a personal list. All right. Here we go. I'm just gonna go off Wikipedia. 2007 in hip hop. Those are albums. Let's go to singles. Okay, this was the year where kind of hip hop had a shift, where it was 50 Cent coming out, Kanye West coming out, Graduation. They had kind of a friendly wager that if Kanye West outsold 50 Cent with his kind of newer, not even backpack, just more poppy, more mainstream, different sound from the very gangster, hardcore sound that 50 Cent was putting out. And if that was kind of a tipping point, that he would walk away. Obviously, he didn't. Graduation did what it did. It's one of the biggest kind of albums to have come out, especially in that time period, and one of the best albums of his catalog and discography overall. But like, look at all the albums that came out. The highest charting singles, this is I'm So Hood, Go Get It, Duffel Bag Boy, We Taking Over, Top Back, Straight to the Bank, My Drink and My Two Step, You Know What It Is. So like, there's still very much an edge to hip hop in 2007. Yes, things were becoming a little bit more commercial, a little bit more mainstream. Kanye West was shifting the direction of the sound and kind of general aesthetic of hip hop, that you no longer had it to be the most gangster hardcore rapper there was to be successful. But there was still very much an edge. So like, I don't really understand why she's saying she was bringing an edge back to hip hop, when hip hop definitely still had an edge at the time. I mean, it was different, but it definitely still had an edge. American Gangster came out as well that year. So like, I don't really understand what she's saying there. But let's continue.
Situation, because there was actually a revolution happening in my country at the time, and by then hip hop had already moved into finance, where they were talking about bling, and I brought back the old school.
Correction. Yes, mainstream hip hop, the most successful hip hop was talking about bling and excess and all the trappings of wealth and success and just being that dude. But that has always been an aspect of hip hop since the days of Slick Rick and Big Daddy Kane and LL Cool J, when he kind of first burst on the scene. That's always been a aspect of hip hop, and of course, that is the sound and the kind of direction that is always going to be the most successful in music, because people love successful people. People love money. People love cars. People love bling. Like, that is something that is always going to be at the forefront of this genre, because it is what sells. It's what sells. And that is what commercial hip hop does. But I remember 2007, there was a very, very strong underground scene of artists who were discussing kind of the other aspect of hip hop, which had a conscience that was socially aware, politically aware, was about movements, about everything. So like, it might not have been in the mainstream like she did, because Paper Planes at its core is still a very political, social song when you break it down, but it broke through to the mainstream to a point where it was an undeniable smash hit across the board. So I will give her that she did bring that social political message and consciousness to the forefront in a mainstream commercial aspect, at least for that song and album, because the album was dope. I will give her that. I take it back. I will give her that.
Version of hip hop where you're, in the category of what artists like Nas and, people that were more political and conscious, what they were representing. So it reignited something else. But then it got repackaged by hip hop, and I think it did influence a lot of Kanye's taste or Rihanna's taste and Beyonce's taste. And what happened with those four artists, like Jay-Z, Kanye, Beyonce, and Rihanna, my stuff did affect that, and that then made them into billionaires, which was the goal, that was their goal. And I think you came and catalyzed that. And yes, it happened in a very nasty way where the thing that was thrown under the bus was me, my personal life, my child, my relationship. It so happened to be that I was, personally involved with the record label that owned these four artists, which is crazy, but that is facts. But at the same time...
Okay, that doesn't make sense. That whole aspect doesn't make sense. Rihanna did not become a billionaire until Fenty. Kanye West did not become a billionaire until Yeezy and Adidas. So, like, how did she make them billionaires from her album? That I do not understand. Her album wasn't even one of the highest selling from that year in hip hop. So they weren't making even tens of millions off of you. They were making money off of you because you were signed to their label and you were successful at the time. You had a smash hit with Paper Planes. I think you had another hit with I forget the name of it, Bad Girls or something like that. I don't know if it was from that album. But to say that you made them billions, I'm not really seeing the connection there. They didn't have to get you out of the way to make billions. That part's a little delusional.
I don't know what to say. It's like he went on to win a Grammy. I didn't. And it was justified because it was helping the Black cause. And to some extent, there is validity in that. If you have to throw yourself under the bus for this moment in history, I almost think, I was like the sacrificial lamb. And it's like that in music, it was maybe meant to happen. I don't know.
Yes.
In these uncertain times,
Okay, so if I'm trying to kind of connect things, because that was a very confusing, weird kind of clip, but like it seems to be maybe she had a relationship with this guy, what is it, Benjamin Brockman or whatever, and he also seemed to be in a label that owned a lot of the catalog of Jay-Z, Rihanna, Beyonce, and Kanye West is what she's trying to imply. Because she had a divorce or broke up or whatever happened, they're split, they had to choose sides, and obviously they chose sides with the label that owns their work and catalog and allows them to put out music. So yes, there's politics in music. That's something that's not a secret. It has been well discussed, well talked about. It's been something that's gone on through the history of the industry as a whole. But again, very confusing kind of take. I'm not really very sure what she's trying to say there. She did not push them to be billionaires. Yes, she was very successful, but I don't think she influenced it as much as she is giving herself credit for. But that's not all. She also had another clip where she said, basically, Kanye West made Jay-Z. Let's check this out.
So now that you've been in the space, who from the outside looks more powerful but is not? Who from the outside looks like they don't have any power but they got a lot of power, specifically in the music industry? Because you went all the way to the top. So if you're sitting there with Jimmy Iovine and you're watching him fire people right in front of you, hire a new team.
I think people, since I have I would say, yeah, I think since I've been in the music industry, there were lots of labels. There were lots of independent labels. There was a variety of genres and all of these things. And now, we pretty much have two giant corporate labels, and you've got Universal and Warner Music, and they pretty much own all of it.
Uh-oh. All right, we're back. Got disconnected right there, but we're back. Let's keep this going.
So I still think it's the same like you're saying, how BlackRock has more money than, or two countries have more money than BlackRock, and that's China and America. And it's like that. Eventually, like everything eventually will turn into being one company. That's also simultaneously happening to the music industry. So
how powerful was Jay-Z when you were doing business with him? Was he already a power player where if he wanted to ruin someone's life or make somebody a star, he could do it?
Yeah, I think me and Rihanna came out the same year, so he definitely did that, But Jay-Z was...
let me say that. Let me hear that again. What do you ask?
How powerful was Jay-Z when you were doing business with him? Was he already a power player where if he wanted to ruin someone's life or make somebody a star, he could do it?
Yeah, I think me and Rihanna came out the same year, so...
I mean, that has always been an interesting aspect of a lot of the hate and vitriol that Jay-Z gets as an executive or a label owner or whatnot is that he doesn't look out for his artists. He uses them. He just steps on them, whatever. But it's just like, if you really look at his track record, he signed Rihanna, he signed J. Cole, he signed M.I.A, and they all became highly successful. That's not even counting the Rockefeller days, which I'm not going to say he signed. I'll give a decent amount of that credit to like a Dame Dash for signing, the whole Philly scene, like Beanie Siegel and Freeway and whatnot. But like to say he's a bad executive for signing you and helping you be successful and might not have turned out as well for you as some of the other artists, but then to look back and be like, he was terrible, he was a bad executive, he da-da-da. It's just like, well, he also could not have signed you. And it's very easy to kind of bite the hand that feeds you after the fact when things don't turn out the way that you thought they would have, because there's always two sides to a story. I don't know your work ethic. I don't know how much work you're putting in. I don't know the things you're doing outside the music. I don't know the bridges you were burning yourself. So it's always been an interesting thing for me. And it's one that Jay-Z has kind of touched on and alluded to in terms of like Beanie Siegel and others, where they're like, talk down on him or talk bad about him, but like at the end of the day, I still made you successful or helped make you successful, helped make you money. What else do you want me to do? Just an interesting thing. Rihanna, M.I.A, J. Cole.
He definitely did that,
Only one of them has a lot of bad things to say.
But Jay-Z was... I'd like to talk about Kanye more because I think he was very important to the rise of Jay-Z.
Also, Jay-Z was very important to the rise of Kanye West. Kanye West has mentioned many times how important Jay-Z was to his career, how he looked up to him, how basically him getting placements on Blueprint and others, and then Jay-Z putting him out as a rapper, giving the opportunity to rap, is what set him on this path that he's on. So, like, what are we talking about?
You know, and he made that all. He added the creativity to that whole thing, you know.
Nah. I'm not going to let her get that off. Jay-Z, Kanye West, undeniable duo, one of the best duos in hip hop to have ever come out. But to sit back and point at Jay-Z and Kanye West and be like, Kanye West was the creative aspect of Jay-Z's entire success up until this point is pretty goddamn wild. Blueprint came out when? Let's check. Jay-Z began his music career in the 1980s. 80s. Reasonable Doubt, considered an all-time classic, one of the most classic, iconic albums in hip-hop. Volume 2, Hard Knock Life. Obviously, Hard Knock Life, absolutely smash hit. Number one single, came out 1998. Blueprint and Dynasty, La Rock are the first times Kanye West kind of started popping up in his orbit. So that's 2000. He started his music career in the 80s. His first album, 1996. Kanye West popped up around Blueprint. So to kind of discredit a man's entire career and discography and success because he was already wildly successful before Kanye West even came around. That's why he was able to sign somebody like a Kanye West and like all these other artists. And to kind of discredit that is spiteful. It's just spiteful at that point, quite honestly.
And I think they don't give him enough respect and dues. But yes, Jay-Z was more of a businessman.
You interacted with both of them, right? You had,
yeah, and Kanye was always the artistic one,
creative side.
Yeah, he's the creative one, and I connected with that. And Jay-Z obviously had the clout and the reputation, but I saw that they both represented two different dynamics, which the world wasn't
privy to yet.
Yes, but I already knew that
back
then. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's happening. Again, it's the same thing, everything.
Could you fast forward then, knowing now Jay's got the kind of clout that he has and Kanye is being criticized and he's lost a lot of wealth the last few years? Could you have predicted this?
Well, I think the interesting thing was they made that record, Watch the Throne, and one person was going to get the throne. And that was already set. Like, they were fighting for that throne. Or one of them was talking about the throne of God, or you didn't know what kind of throne it was.
Oh, my God. All right. She's just chatting shit, as the English like to say. She's just chatting shit. Like, how can you take anything that she's saying seriously, especially if you're like a hip-hop head who understands the history of hip hop and Jay-Z's kind of place in it? Like, yes, Jay-Z is not perfect. Jay-Z has done a lot of things that, a lot of artists and people can probably have negative opinions about. But to say Kanye West made Jay-Z, that's a stretch. That's a big stretch. I'm pretty sure he was multi-platinum by the time Kanye West came around. Yes, Kanye West helped him elevate to a second kind of stage of his career and a different sound in a different direction and like really helped him get some hits. But Jay-Z also helped Kanye West a ton. He literally has a song called My Brother, or Big Brother, literally bigging up Jay-Z and the credit and everything that he did to help put Kanye West in that position. Nobody gets to these positions alone. So when people point at somebody and be like, they helped you get there, so I'm going to diminish and discredit everything you did to get there, is ridiculous, because Jay-Z also helped you get to where you were. And you just said that. He helped you become successful, helped you reach another audience, helped you reach another level. But then you turn around and be like, oh, he got help from Kanye West, so I give more credit to him. But it's like, And then to say like Kanye West fell off or is getting negative press for no reason, to think like there's no reason behind some of the press that he's getting. It's also delusional and either ignorant or deliberate, because you cannot follow Kanye West. I've followed Kanye West his whole career. You cannot follow Kanye West and not point to things that have happened, that he said, that he's done, that have led to some of those negative press and loss of deals and sponsorships and downturn in his career. And to like ignore that wholly and just act like that is the only reason why things are happening is because Jay-Z is pressing buttons behind the scene, is spiteful, is hateful, is just wrong. Just straight up wrong. Like straight up wrong. And to think like the one is the throne of God. Yes, the same Kanye West that came out was like, I'm going to make my own porn company right after he went on his whole Jesus tour. Right.
Whether it was the throne of Satan or the throne of God or whatever, you know, or whether they were two kings duking it out over this throne. I think that was a very, you know, that was the moment that kind of thing happened. And if you look at politically, the Jay-Z supported Obama and Kanye supported Trump. And so they were sort of vying for this. You know, that was also quite a telling thing. And
in these uncertain times, if there's
This ain't it. Like, it feels opportunistic. And I love M.I.A, especially some of her early work. I do think that she is, at one point, was a very phenomenal artist who had very interesting things to say and present from a musical aspect. I think things outside of music are basically overshadowing everything else that she has and is doing. But this ain't it. This whole interview feels like a gossip thing, like kind of just a thing that to capture the moment, to capture what is happening with Jay-Z and to kind of like eat off of that. Maybe not from her point, but definitely from valuetainment's point is, let me see if I can get some Jay-Z clips, some Jay-Z juicy tidbits in here. But like, honestly, there's not much here. And like, she sounds like a disgruntled former artist who was successful and highly popular at one point that just was mismanaged, either from her or from even Jay-Z's part. At somewhere along the line, her career got mismanaged, and now she's kind of resorting to gossiping about Jay-Z at the exact time that all this is happening. Like, if this was not happening with Jay-Z, with everything else, like all the, you know, lawsuits, speculation and everything, would she have come out and talked about this? Would she have been on this podcast? Would she have been invited to this podcast? I highly doubt that. And I bet you she has an album or some music coming out around this exact same time. This seems like a straight up kind of PR stunt to get publicity. Yeah, and she does have, well, I mean, she definitely has a new song out called Marigold that just released 13 hours ago. Perfect timing. So yes, she also has new music coming out. So smells very PR-ish to me, but what do I know?